What is up? It is Dave. It is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new release from Belgian duo Doodseskader. The band's new album, Year 2.
Say that again.
Doodseskader.
If the band can let us know how authentic and on the money that is.
So I heard a couple of different pronunciations of it.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of hybrid.
If in
both.
doubt, go down the middle. That's the smart approach.
So their new album, Year 2, were released on March 8th via 45 Records. Doodseskader is Dutch for Death Squad. And this band is a merging of the minds of Tim de Geiter from Amerna and Siegfried Burrows from Kapitan Korsakov and Pard. Throughout their 3 years of existence, Doodseskader have been relentlessly pushing the envelope of what it means to be a heavy band. From the grunge-infused sludge on their EP Year 0 to the punishing blend of hip-hop and hardcore on their debut album Year 1 and the sonic onslaught of relentless rapping on standalone singles such as FLF and Still Haven't Killed Myself, they're breaking free of any form of categorization. Now on March 8th, with the arrival of their sophomore album Year 2, Doodseskader takes things up another couple of notches. Where their last record, Year 1, saw the duo struggling with their inner demons, both past and present, Year 2 is an undeniable display of progress, not only introspectively, but also musically. De Geiter and Burrows sound outright bloodthirsty, ready to take on anyone in their way. Year 2 undeniably sees Doodseskader promise fulfilled. It's both a complete teardown of genres and boundaries, a sonic wrecking ball wielded by two people trying to get better. The album was recorded and mixed by Tim from the band at Much Love Studio, and then mastered by Jack Shirley at Atomic Garden Studio. So, Year 2, Duncan.
I've only been around for 3 years.
Yeah, I know. They are
Hell. What?
pumping out the material, Duncan.
This is what happens when you're only a duo, Dave.
You just get shit done, Duncan.
You just get shit done, like how we have consistently. Like some people think, oh, where did they find the time? In fact, a certain publicist that we were in the company of just a couple of days ago was like, where did they find the time to go all these gigs and review all those albums? And I'll tell you why. No middlemen here.
That's right, Duncan.
It's a sandwich with no filler.
A dry sandwich.
A dry sandwich.
Doesn't sound that great when you say it out loud, but
Then
it
you'll
works.
find that the Swiss for dry sandwich is Doodseskader. There you go.
So yeah, I didn't expect another album from these guys so soon. After like Year 1 only came out in 2022, so we're flying ahead.
Yep.
So Year 2, what did you make of this release from Doodseskader?
What I love about you, Dave,
All right.
out with the appendage, which, I mean, dear God almighty, to see it is to believe, ladies and gents. Well, pick up a coffee mug. I don't know why. But what I love about you is there are 4 albums on the docket to be recorded reviews tonight. Check out the close. That's how you know how we record them in grips. And the ones you have let me lead on are the ones you know for a fact I will have a lot to say on.
Yeah.
And the ones that you're going to lead on clearly are the ones that you have more expertise to talk about. And that's why I love you, Dave. That's the very reason here. Yeah, this album is... So I didn't... if we spoke about them before, I don't recall.
I'd heard the album, but I don't know if we'd spoke about it, actually.
I don't think so. My introduction to them was the track you sent over to me months ago now, it feels like. I'm trying to remember what it was. That is, I asked with my mouth, I'll take with my fist.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, because I remember saying that's a fucking great name for a song. So that was my introduction, and I like coming off the end of that track. I was like, whoa, like just like a collage of ideas, style, sounds, with this kind of aura of like Crosses meets Deftones, very Chino. There was a Chino infused element over the top of it. So it's been on the kind of shortlist since that track of Let's Count Down. I am overjoyed that we have it. I will be honest, I didn't read the press. I never read the press. And also, my least favourite medium for consuming albums is by stream. And I know that this is how this came down to us, but I suffered through because I really want to check this out. This is an oddity, man. This is like in the best possible way. I kind of feel like this is like a 16-sided Rubik's Cube, which technically wouldn't be a cube, but you get my meaning there. It is like 7D chess. Not because anything that is necessarily overtly technical, it isn't actually. If anything, it's very straight down the middle and its ideas and execution. It's more the hybrid merging of styles that are at times essentially next door neighbours and at other times a completely different town away, that they manage to bridge in a very comfortable and extremely confident fashion. And that's why I was kind of shocked when you said 3 years. The confidence on this release is fucking galling. It's so assured of its vision, its style, its delivery. It's kind of hard to get my head round. I know you said they've been in lots of other bands. I'd be surprised if any of the bands sounded like this. It might be the hardest to kind of give a genre to, because yes, there is metal in here.
All the genre stuff.
It is like, but it's not all the genres. It is all the genres, but it's not all the genres, right? To them, I think this is just as how they write music, right? And as a result of that, it's not let's bring a hip hop element in, let's bring a weird like industrial kind of groove, and let's throw some fucking like doom lead and discordant guitars. I don't think that's how they approach. I just think it's a feel album. I think the like very much feel out a song in the way of, right, this bit needs something rough, this bit needs something heavy. This is a very textural, very tactile listen. And I love that about it. It like, to me, it kind of almost has this kind of, not that it's a genre of music, it's a genre of film, but has this kind of art house aesthetic about it. This kind of, we're going to make you kind of try and work out what we're doing. We know what we're doing, but we're not going to give you anything at all to help you here, because there isn't at any point here anything that you can actually grab onto that's solid, that isn't removed like 15 seconds later, and you're kind of left falling. I'll tell you, I love this, right? I love this. It should be no surprise. That's why he leaned in on me. I understand that. I struggle to explain, and this is not like me, why is I love it, though. Because my first full listen, by the time I got to the end, I was of the opinion that it was something special. But then I went right back through it again straight away, and I was like, that I'm going to pull out the elements that are this is why this works. And actually, on the second listen, I was more confused than I was on the first listen. And subsequently, every time I've come at it from a different angle, I feel like I understand the band's writing process less than I did on the previous listen. To the point we are now, I think I'm 5 listens in. And I'm even more confused than I was at the beginning when I finished it and was like, that, well, this is fucking great. They have elements of doom, elements of kind of noise rock, they have elements of hip hop, there's elements of pure electronica, there's elements of shoegaze, there's elements like small tinges of new metal. There's like, but it's never at any point. What I kind of love about it as well is, as me try to work it out in my head, like you never get a bit where you're like, that you hear a riff and you be like, that's a new metal riff. But what the rest of the music is doing is not new metal.
True. Yeah.
So it's kind of throws me, because it's hard to say like the try to challenge themselves by writing a new metal element, because they didn't. They took one aspect of it, and it's like painting a picture and being like that, right? Well, we're gonna use watercolors, but at the same time, I'm gonna do it in the style of Picasso. But I'm also gonna use some of these oil colors as well, and do a little bit of fucking Van Gogh. But at the same time, we'll be super detailed and do a little bit of Leonardo da Vinci. But at the same time, I don't want to. It's so against the grain and the way it's structured that it shouldn't work at all. Like, you should be at the end of this and be confused, unfulfilled, and slightly angry. And I never felt that from Pastel Prison, which is a track that like swaths like huge sheens of Deftones and shoegaze with kind of heavier like electronic elements, to tracks like Bone Pipe, which are about as industrial as you can get. The album at times reminds me of the aggression of bands like Mantar, with those grungy elements, which I'm glad you've quantified them, because I did feel like I was going a bit mad where I was like, that vocals are fucking grunge, man. But the fact I've got an EP that covers that as well.
Yeah.
But it continually experiments upon itself. And even when you feel like tracks have been like delivered in a way where they've given you so much, you're like that, you can't squeeze anything out. Like, I put everything I can in the suitcase and now it won't zip. It's kind of like they were like that. Oh no, there's another wee compartment here. And in here exists a grind beat. And you're like, what? Like everything, nothing is sacred to them. Nothing is off limits, and all of it works. Might be like my favourite thing I've heard this year. Like, just because it's almost unquantifiable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's genius. Like, I think this is musicians living on the edge of music.
Yeah.
Where like everything, like it's like being in a room where like you are surrounded by sound of all the genres, and you can just grab them and slot them in. And that's kind of what I think they've done here. It's just the way they've designed the picture, as abstract as it is to the untrained eye, is incredibly well written. Like, this could, like, to the lesser ear, this could sound like a lot of stuff just flung against the wall. To me, this is like a high level of songwriting because of the experimentation that works here.
Yeah.
They take leaps, they take gambles, and they do it so confidently. I feel like the idiot for not putting the genres together. Like before, of course this fits. Always fits. And I will say this about them: when the band want to get heavy, for those that are like, he's mentioned a lot of things, they can go like Bone Pipe, as like that track I mentioned earlier on, is like industrial music from fucking hell. So fucking heavy. And they do it as if it's nothing. Well, I don't know how detuned the guitars are on that track, but they're fucking
Duncan,
cool.
let me let you in a little secret here. There's no guitars on this album.
Right, that makes me love them even more.
Bass. It's all bass.
That I love them even more because they've taken that bass and they have added an effect to it that makes it sound like the most fucking detuned guitar I've heard. I love that. I think that's once again, it just makes me love them even more. There are tender moments, quiet moments, serene moments, dance moments, aggressive moments, thought-provoking moments, aggressive moments. It is this is the human condition captured in an album. We may be in a position where we have a little front runner for album of the year for me.
Holy. Woo.
Yeah, this is what I live for, man.
Yep.
I don't listen to a stream 5 times. I listen to it twice,
no, you don't.
And then hate the PR company for sending it to me in a stream. I've spun it 5 times. And I'm counting down until March the 8th, did you say?
Yep.
And then it'll be on my device and I'll be spinning the shit out of it more. This is the shit, man. Love it.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear you say that, Duncan.
Because I did not. Fuck these guys and their bass that sounds like a guitar. That was a fact that Duncan didn't know until 2 seconds ago.
Dude, you know they've got me in when they're a duo. I mean, like, I was sold.
How can duos now do more than 6-piece bands?
I don't know. I watched a live video of them on YouTube and I was just like, what the fuck? How does
I'd
it
love to
sound?
see this live. I'd love to see it live.
Man. Yeah, I was a fan of Tim's other band, Amenra. Absolutely killer band. If you haven't heard them, check them out. If you've never heard Doodseskader before, then be prepared, because it's a bit of a departure from the Amenra sound. But I think that's a really good thing, because this doesn't really sound like much else out there, to be honest. Like, you can hear little things that are like, all right, yeah, that sounds kind of like that, or a little bit, but there's not, you couldn't just say, oh, they sound like this band. You know, there's so much going on here. It's very, very difficult to pigeonhole this band. There's just so much they add to the melting pot. I mean, like, stylistically, like you said, it's going from fucking sludge to new metal to grunge to industrial to hip hop. It's so diverse, but it's so fucking awesome at the same time.
Yeah, dude.
Jesus, I mean, like, when I was researching the name, trying to figure out how they actually pronounce it, there was an interview they did with the guy from A War from a Harlot's Mouth, and they were talking about Year One, the first album, and Tim was basically saying he remembers, like, they finished the album, he's got like a studio at home, they went out into the terrace and they were just like having a smoke and stuff, and then Tim was like, nah, we need to do that again. We're gonna just let's just start again. Let's do it. Kept the drums and basically re-recorded and did everything else again because they weren't happy with it. And I get the feeling, like, listening to that interview, they write very much on feeling, just, you know, how they're feeling in that moment, you know, where a track should go. It's not like pre-planned or pre-thought out. They just, you know, like, whatever comes to them, whatever sounds like it should come next, that's what they do. And it really makes for such an interesting release. This is a very imposing release, like, both stylistically and sonically. And I think that comes from that kind of like mixture of the kind of organic instrumentation, the bass and drums, but they merge that with these like electronic and industrial elements. I mentioned the bass. Like, the bass sound on this album is incredible. Like, it's so thick and dense, and
I thought it was a guitar.
Well, you know, if someone hadn't told me or I hadn't read it, then I wouldn't have, or hadn't watched it with my own eyes, like in a live video, I wouldn't have known either. I'd have thought it was a guitar. And the industrial stuff on this is just downright savage at times on this album. When Pastel Prison kicked in, I was the same as you, exactly the same. I was like, well, this is a wee bit kind of White Pony, like the way it kicks in with the reverby drums. I was like, oh, right, okay, a wee bit Deftones. And then obviously the bass and the vocals come in, and they cleverly layer that track up bit by bit, you know, as a first kind of introduction to the album. And it's a good, like, over 2 minutes of that before they just unleash this.
I think it's about the 2 minute mark.
Yeah.
Of what they unleash is hell.
My God, it's like completely scorched earth vocals and just distorted bass. And it's just this wall of like sludge and industrial noise that just hits you with these incredibly kind of raspy vocal screams over the top. It sounds huge. And it's very measured. They know exactly how to build a moment in a track and then just absolutely obliterate you with it. And it happens a lot throughout the album, but they cleverly don't repeat it in the same way. It's like, say, like if you took like a deathcore album, for example, you can hear those moments coming. You know, like, oh, here comes the break. You can hear the traits. Oh, right, here it comes. 1, 2, 3. Right, here's the breakdown. With this, it's not like that at all. It is not predictable in the slightest. It's not the same kind of build up that they do each time. Sometimes the drop is a kind of like slowed down, kind of like sludgy kind of new metal riff, like on the sheer horror of the human condition, or they go full out industrial, cut out the kind of the bass side of it and just, you know, hit you with like all that kind of abrasive noise, but it doesn't hit with any less impact when they do that.
They also don't revisit like
Yeah, I know.
those sections either. It kind of feels like that. Right, they've delivered. Like they've had an idea.
Yeah,
That idea is now complete. So let's not think about it again.
yeah,
Which once again, just like to songwrite like that is
Yeah.
so fucking edgy. It's unbelievable.
yeah. Like as you listen to this album, if it's anything like my first listen to the album, I had not a clue what was coming next on this album. And year one was kind of similar to that as well. But this album seems like they have expanded even more on that in terms of the styles and the dynamics, and it makes it an even more kind of exciting listen. I did 4 listens to this, and every time I listened to it, I heard new things every single time. And to be honest, there's maybe styles on here that wouldn't normally be something I'd, gravitate to, but they make it in a way that is really appealing. Like Bone Pipe, for example, starts in a very like kind of Ghostemane type way. It's heavily leaning into that kind of grimy kind of hip hop sound. It's still got an industrial streak, but they kind of sculpt it in a way that would also appeal to like a metal fan, by giving it groove and that kind of heavy bass. That bass, man, I can't stop thinking about that bass.
One of my favourite drops on the album, when you're listening to track 6, Future Perfect I Promise, which is this dreamy, woozy,
Yep.
kind of all indie shoegaze track
Yeah.
for about 4 minutes of its 4.5 minute runtime or whatever it is, and then in the last like 30 seconds,
Yep.
it is.
I just about had a heart attack. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Shat myself the first time I heard
it goes
it,
from
'cause
like
I thought like it was going to continue to like lead out, and it comes back like that. Scorched earth is the best way to describe it. This is I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah.
It's just like seared flesh, just like out of fucking nowhere.
yeah,
like,
it's because it goes from like almost complete silence to a fucking nuclear war in a matter of seconds.
they take that idea and by the end of it, they twist it into
Yeah.
a Deftones melody.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're
yeah.
just like,
The cleans over the end were like, what
How?
the fuck?
how did we end up here?
I know. Vocally, I think both guys are contributing vocally to the album, and it's
explain a lot.
another area of this release that's just incredibly varied. From the kind of really distorted screams to the kind of more kind of alternative, kind of grungy cleans. It reminded me slightly of like kind of newer Code Orange in a way, but they know exactly when to drop it in, and the cleans are never overdone. Like it never becomes too much or too overpowering, or it never dilutes anything either. Even tracks like Pen, where they are kind of their most kind of vulnerable vocally, it's a really great contrast and moment on the album. It works really well in that kind of middle section. I initially thought, oh, they're following that up with another clean track with Future Perfect. I was like, oh, yeah, this is another kind of stripped back, quite melancholic with the clean vocals, and then that fucking cannon goes off about the 4-minute mark, and I just about fucking died. But I think one of my favourites on the album was actually track 8. I asked with my mouth, I'll take with my fist, which has such a cool vocal hook. Like, it's really kind of moody and dark, but there's also some little kind of snippets of kind of rap in there, but not in a kind of cheap, like, it's tastefully done.
Not gonna take us to the Matthews Bridge.
Nothing like that, no. But then they drop in this like straight up kind of hardcore section, which is heavy as balls, and it wouldn't be out of place on like a Knocked Loose album. But again, they do it without guitars. Like, this is a bass guitar that's doing all this and making it sound so fucking heavy. I was just like, this is nuts, man, how fucking crazy this is. The last track is a bit more kind of experimental. There's different kind of synth sounds. It's got a bit of kind of like spacey, kind of sci-fi type vibe to it. But again, it comes with that really abrasive kind of bass-driven groove that just drives the track right to the finish line. And to be honest, when it finished, I was like, I'm ready to go again. Like, I found it so like Moorish, and it kind of reveals more of itself the more you go back to it. What's kind of exciting about this though is these guys they're already planning like way ahead of this album. They're planning to do up to year 4. So this is obviously year 2. They're planning on doing 4. And apparently year 3 is already done. It's finished. So I don't think it's going to be that long until we
Next year, then.
maybe even this year. Who knows? Like we're only
Don't
in
fucking
February.
say- I'm
We're
not
only in
ready.
February.
I cannot have a 1-2 with the same band. I can't fucking do it. Like, my credibility will be torn up for arse paper. I can't do it.
Yeah, so they said in that interview that like they are kind of planning kind of way ahead with lots and lots of new music.
How are they planning on travelling to Scotland to play a gig?
Well, I mean, they're only in Belgium, so like
Belgium is not that far.
no, it's not. Yeah, so who knows? I do believe that whatever they do next, it's going to be another wild evolvement of their sound, and it'll probably include a whole host of other styles and influences. So I can't wait to hear whatever they do. And finally, just like want to mention the production because Tim has done an absolutely ridiculously good job on this. It sounds fucking colossal, but also like there's so much detail in here and nuance in it as well. Obviously they've got Jack Shirley to master it. If you've heard anything he's done with like Death Heaven or whatever, you'll know how good this guy is. And the album just has just such an excellent kind of balance of all the kind of sonic elements. It sounds incredible. Phenomenal sounding album. Just kind of genius, to be honest. Like
It's genius. It's not even kind of genius. This is like this is the abstract delivery of genius. Like people that are like incredibly gifted at doing one thing but awkward at parties. That's this band. Although we've never seen them at a party, they might be a riot.
Could be.
Looking at their press photos, none of them look like they're smiling in any of them.
They're quite funny actually. When I watched that interview, they actually are.
No doubt. I'd literally see if he told me like actually at the weekend they fucking cured cancer. I believe that as well.
Yeah, they seem like cool guys. The drummer actually doesn't come from a kind of like metal background either. He's like into jazz and like kind of alternative stuff.
Jazz drummers though are the triple threat. You know what I mean?
They are. So final thing. Scores for year 2. Yeah, no, I don't know why I'm saying this.
Fucking asking me is like.
So scores for year 2 by Doodseskader. I'm going to ask you the question anyway, Duncan, just because it's part of the review.
That's what keys up the graphic with the explosion.
Roll the graphic.
This is a 5.
Yes.
Like, this is the best album I've heard this year.
Yeah.
I would like, as much as it's going to upset people, like coming into listening to this album, my favorite thing I'd heard this year was from Ishan, where I was like, this just works on a completely different level. And there's only one of him, right?
Yeah.
But that's all contained within what he's doing and his style and his sound. These guys don't have a sound.
Yeah.
They're a country without borders. It's fucking nuts. It's the easiest 5 that I will give out this year. And I'm going to say the sentence: if this is not my number 1 at the end of the year, then
I'll talk to you. We didn't do a prediction, did we? Did we do a prediction?
We didn't do our predictions.
Oh, we didn't.
Thank fuck we didn't, because I would not like. We've just done a what we're excited about that's coming out this year, and we never mentioned these guys once. No. This just makes me excited to be a fan of music. It's fucking awesome. 5.
Yeah. 100% agree with you. I couldn't find anything to dislike, nothing to criticize about this album. I loved it from start to finish, and it's one of those albums that you like when you start talking about it, you're like, I really want to listen to that album again.
So badly don't want to do these last 2 reviews and just go and listen to it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Doodseskader year 2 out on March 8th on 45 Records. Ridiculously good album. Like, check this out. There's links below to the band, to the pre-order. Check all that out. Have a listen. Have your mind blown. It's awesome. That's the review. Thanks for checking this out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.